Hey listeners, last year was our 15th year of the best in food storytelling. As we head into 2025, we're kicking off a contest in collaboration with the podcast series Feast and Harmony and Sixth Man, where you have the opportunity to win a 4-night cruise for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, a food, wine, and spirits festival at sea. When you donate to HRN, you'll be entered for the chance to win a porthole cabin for 2 on Chefs Making Waves, sailing May 5th through 9th, 2025, from Miami to Cozumel, Mexico on Norwegian Gem. You'll also support another year of great food storytelling with a portion of your donation going toward disaster relief for the food and beverage communities within Western North Carolina and Southern California. This cruise is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for culinary adventurers, featuring top celebrity chefs including Jonathan Waxman, Antonio Lafaso, Robert Irvine, and many, many more. There's a myriad of experiences such as restaurant takeovers, live food and mixology demos, themed parties, and more. To enter your chance to win, please visit heritageradionetwork.org/cruise. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or over to enter. That's heritageradionetwork.org/cruise.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hey, Gringex Chicagoans. I'm Linda from Cena Secreto. If you are in the neighborhood, you should look up Cena Secreto on Instagram. See if I'm hosting any dinners or tastings upcoming. Can't wait to see ya. SEYNA Secreto. Secret with an O.
If you want to go on a wild goose chase, head to the tequila aisle and search for G4 Tequila. You probably won't find it because G4 tends to sell out as soon as it arrives into Specs or any other liquor store. And of course G4 sells out. It's made by the legendary Felipe Camarena and his sons, Luis Felipe and Alan, who are the titular 4th generation that is G4. They cook ripe agaves in custom stone ovens and distill the fermented sugar-rich plants in copper stills. It's a difference you can smell, taste, and feel when you enjoy G4 tequilas. Or rather, it is what you can taste, smell, and feel if you can find G4. And if you can find it, grab it. I'm Lou Bank.
And I'm Marissa, a.k.a. the Tequila Encyclopedia.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. Hey, Marissa.
Hey, Lou. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me this beautiful Saturday morning, the day after World Poetry Day.
Which I just learned is a day.
It is a day. It's a whole day. Though I find most people who enjoy poetry prefer to enjoy it at night.
Oh, no. A little morning poem is the best way to start the day. See what I did there?
Oh, that
made it rhyme.
You did.
That time. Could do it on a dime. Should we do this entire thing just rhyming today? Because I think that's the only way.
Wow, look at you. Have you ever freestyled? Like,
yes.
If you want to do it, that's all on you. I'm not even going to attempt.
That's what she said. Yes, no, I have freestyled, but in a political rap arena.
Of course you have. So you can rap your way through this today, Marissa. So a few years ago, yeah, I will shoehorn. A few years ago, the story that was like all over the news was that tequila outsold whiskey and was on pace to outsell vodka. But, that was just journalists misreading the annual reports of DISCUS, the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S. Now DISCUS has released the final numbers for 2024, and I thought, hey, I want to talk numbers with somebody, and who do I know who knows numbers? Well, that would be my friend Marissa.
Numbers and poems. So yeah, here we are.
Cool. So I sent you a bunch of spreadsheets where I've taken the annual numbers from DISCUS and dropped them into individual spreadsheets so you can look at this point, what is it, an 8-year history? It's 2016 to 2024. 8-year history of sales by category, both in dollars and volume for all the different spirits categories.
Yeah, and actually, just in reading it for the first time, I've noticed a few things really struck me. So you want to hit some first impressions?
Yeah, please.
So obviously we've all heard about tequila and how it's growing and growing and growing. And then you hear about the agave prices. Oh, they're going down. And everyone and their mother has a tequila brand. I think there might even be a tequila brand called Mother's Tequila. I don't know. There's so many tequila brands. But one of the things that actually struck me on this is...
That'd be a great tequila brand name. Everyone and their mother.
Everyone and their mother.
And tu madre.
Yeah, y tu madre también. The cocktail ready-to-drink category. So just quickly.
Yeah.
We have brandy cognac, cordials, cocktails and RTDs, rum, tequila, vodka, whiskey. I think that's alphabetical.
Well, tequila/agave, but yeah.
Yes, obviously. Yes, because of course, the last time I was here, I argued that the word tequila doesn't matter.
Yeah, yes, you did. Tequila/mezcal, not agave. And it should just be agave, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that is a whole nother episode. That quick plug you should listen to. But if I do then call it tequila/mezcal or mezcal/tequila, I need to move it up a few, but it's alphabetical. Anyway, what struck me on this was, sure, tequila is growing, but really it's the cocktail and ready to drink category that I thought was particularly surprising.
Yeah, right?
Right? Like
crazy
really
growth. Like some of these, I have to pull it up to look at it, but some of these years were like 25 and 30% growth year on year.
Yeah, and additionally to that, so I have a theory. I've had a theory about just macroeconomic trends generationally is like a thing that I'm fascinated by.
Yeah. And
as the millennial generation is now pretty middle-aged and Gen Z is coming up behind it and becoming old enough to drink legally, some of the things that I'm noticing trend-wise is everyone's saying Gen Z is not drinking. And I don't think that that's actually the case. I think they're not drinking the way that prior generations drank.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah. And same with millennials. I think millennials are the same way. If you look at cocktails and ready to drink, they are it's the one category that bucks this trend. Mm-hmm. So the fastest growing component of the RTD cocktail category is actually the value side, which I thought was surprising because my theory was that millennials and perhaps to some extent Gen Z, they just prefer quality, their perception of quality. So let me show you what I mean.
Sure, please.
So the data on tequila is growing, right? Like the trend is overall growing. But super premium is the one that appeared to be for a while, outpacing. Now its percentage revenue change was actually going down, different conversation. Right. But on the whole, price is going up, consumption's going up. My theory was that much like workout classes, $13 avocado toast, and expensive everything, I think millennials tend to buy things that they perceive to be of high quality, even if it means maybe having fewer, but certainly meaning having something that they perceive to be better for them, healthier for them. If they think it's healthy, they'll pay the price. $13 avocado toast. So then when I looked over at, and that was supported by data on tequila. On the tequila mezcal side, like you can see super premium's growing. Of course, super premium is not necessarily healthier for you in any way. In fact, I would actually probably argue it's less healthy because there's a more higher chance or higher probability of having additives, which are a whole different conversation. But if you look at cocktails and ready to drink, which is also growing quite a bit, the biggest growth is in value. And that struck me as a buck to the trend.
Well, so but let's put a fine point on that for people who aren't looking at the actual sheets, right? So there's 4 different categories of pricing that are recognized by DISCUS. It's value, premium, high-end premium, and super premium. I kind of like the fact that value and premium, and that like you immediately you go into premium, high-end premium, like nothing is just sort of like value, middle market, right? But I have a theory. Keep going with your theory, but I have a theory about the theory.
Okay, so thank you. That's a very good context for anyone not looking at the data, which I imagine is everyone. So it's divided into value, premium, which we'll, I guess, call standard since there is no standard regular, high-end premium, and super premium. And if you were to see the data on cocktails and ready-to-drink category, the value side is outpacing by leaps and bounds to the point where it's an incredible outlier, the growth in terms of price per liter and revenue of all the other components and categories there. I think there could be some correlation with the financial crisis. I think there could be some correlation with, obviously, COVID. People were home trying to do cocktails. So I'd be interested to know what is defined as a cocktail, because I think ready to drink, if you just think singularly there's certainly appetite, pun intended.
For you and I, like just a straight up bottle of good mezcal is ready to drink.
It is ready to drink. I think it's
but I don't think it's included in this category. So, they make this weird distinction that changes by, and we keep using the word category, which is confusing, but like by spirit, right? So when you're looking at the RTDs / cocktails, when it says premium versus value in this particular segment, that's what we'll say, segment. I like that. In this particular segment, premium just means it has a brand name attached to it. So, yeah, right?
Gotcha,
that makes more sense now, right? And value means it doesn't have a brand name attached to it. So, in fact, if you look, I don't think it's the case. I'd have to pull up actually, let me pull it up. It could be that, in fact, there's no difference in price between the two when you average everything out.
the price per liter is.
Oh yeah, no, it is significantly different.
Significantly, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, significantly different. Okay. Well, so where you're seeing that difference in tequila, I think value tequila is really just Blue Weber, not 100% agave. I'm sorry, not 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. And in this case, it just doesn't say that it's, I don't know, Jack Daniels and Coke.
Gotcha. Okay, so then that context is helpful. And it sort of guides the discussion. I do think what's weird, though, if you look at the tequila category, is the perception of quality is always something I'm fascinated by.
Yeah.
And I've long held this theory that there's actually diminishing quality once you hit a certain price point. I haven't plotted it out. I keep saying I'm going to, and I haven't yet. But my guess, just empirically, is probably around, let's say, 65 for a Blanco, and maybe 70 actually nowadays. And anything that goes above that, actually the quality diminishes, because now it's becoming a marketing product as opposed to a quality product. And I would actually posit that even lower price at some point, like somewhere between, let's say, 45 and 60 is probably 65 is probably the sweet spot.
Yeah.
No pun intended for the agave. And so when I'm looking at this chart, what I see is the percentage change in revenue year over year. And if you look at this chart, what you would see is the super premium category, which I've got to imagine is like the Don Julio 1942s, just based on price, if it's price related.
Right. And it is in tequila. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, the percentage revenue change for super premium took a nosedive between 21 and now 23, and it continued steady into 24.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, do you think that is correlated with this additive free movement? Because I have a theory it might be. And that people who would have otherwise been buying the 1942s of the world, or the Cristalinos in the big, massive bottles that could double as lamps of the world, maybe they instead are going for a more moderately priced, but self-proclaimed additive-free option.
Huh. Well, it's an interesting theory. Yeah.
Because that is perceived as healthier. That is perceived as premium. Previously, premium was price. Now premium is health. If health is premium, but it's not premium price, you will see that category that is not the super premium reflect that.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand what you're suggesting. So when I'm looking at the super premium, the most expensive, right? Mm-hmm. When I'm looking at those sales, you're not wrong. It took a nosedive 2 years ago and went down a little bit. It actually didn't even really take a nosedive. So if you're looking between 2022 and 2023, it dropped by 1.25% in terms of volume, right?
But if you look at percentage change in revenue, which is what I'm fascinated by, because I think it speaks to how much people are purchasing related to the pricing.
And you're looking at tequila.
I'm looking at tequila.
So what I'm seeing is, in fact, there was a growth in super premium from 2022 to 2023 of 1.32%. Now, if you compare that to the growth the previous year, which was 17% growth,
Right.
and so it definitely slowed down in growth. That's what you're referring to,
Right. So I'm talking more on a holistic basis. So if you look at 2019, for instance, super premium grew by, let's say, 15.5%.
Yeah.
Then 2020, 25%. Then 21, 41%. 42% if you round. It then drops down to 17% and then 1%, 1.3% in 23, and then it levels off like 1.4% in 24. So on the whole category is growing, right? Like I'm not going to discount that, no pun intended again, but the growth percentage, like the big change between that 41 down to 1.3 within a 2-year period is significant.
And
it's
to
not
your point, to your point, the high end premium, so the next level down, still grew by almost 7% last year.
It is. And there it is.
Huh.
So I think, so here's my theory again, is I think perception of quality is shifting from high price being the indicator of quality to high health being the indicator of quality. And that as the millennial and Gen Z generations mature, they are health focused, health conscious, and what their perception of health is and quality are what's driving the market and the numbers.
Or at least some segment, right? So the person who's buying tequila is a different person than the one buying a pre-mixed cocktail, a canned cocktail, a ready to drink, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So you're getting a segmentation almost in and of itself just based on what you're choosing to drink. But
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Unintended.
So, another thing that I look at, that I see when I look at these numbers is I think so much of that growth in super premium that took place specifically in 2020 and 2021 was people just looking for a fun way to spend all of the COVID money they got from the government. That's another theory is, well, if I'm going to be stuck at home, I'm going to drink the good stuff, again, for some segment of the market.
Totally. And I'll agree to that as an outlier. So if you basically take 2020 and 2021 as outliers, they're 25 and 42%.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
Previous to that, it was like, around the low teens, mid-teens, right? 12%, 10%, 15%, 17 to 2019.
Yeah.
And then at 2020 or 2022, it comes back to that, right around 17%. But in 23 and 24, going down to 1% and then maintaining there, I think is the real story here.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I like that. What I find interesting is overall just how much more we as a country, because all these numbers are based solely on sales within the USA, right? How much more we as a country pay per liter for agave spirits than anything else.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah. Like if you look at it, I pulled these numbers out because it fascinates me. If you look at how much we're paying per liter, agave is far and away, let me just, where'd you go numbers? Here you are. Is far and away the most expensive at $23.17 per liter.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And, and that's up 25% since 2016 over that 8-year period. So,
wow, yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at like the what we drink the most of in volume, hang on, let me make sure I'm not lying here. The most in volume that we drink is vodka. It's 667 million liters per year. So that's literally 24.4% of all of the spirits, including canned cocktails that we drink. Right? A quarter of them. And yet the price is $10 on average, $10.83 per liter, which is up 11% since 2016. But if you look at the inflation rate since 2016, it's just over 30% that it should have gone up. So nothing has actually kept pace with inflation, which I also find fascinating.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. But so with agave, I'm going to throw some numbers at you because I find the way that you process numbers fascinating. So I'm going to throw some numbers at you. How much we pay per liter by segment.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's the one that stood out to me too, to be honest.
Yeah. So agave spirits are the most expensive to us, again, at $23.17 per liter. Number two, this shocks me. Number two is brandy at $20.24 per liter.
Huh.
Yeah. And then we go to whiskey. Now, I've got a theory about whiskey in particular. So whiskey, we're paying $18.30 per liter. When we look at those RTDs, and I'll stop there with the rest of them, but when we look at the RTDs, those are $5.01 per liter.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's not all alcohol, so it's not all expensive, right?
But that's what surprises me about RTDs. If you think about Starbucks as an example, Starbucks did really well in, let's say, the 2010 era. And the reason it did really well is because it was a very inexpensive way to signal, I don't want to say quality, that's not the right word, but to signal status. To say
who you are. It's an identifier, yeah.
Sure. So for an extra $1, which on a $2 purchase is a lot of money, but it's only an extra $1, you can show that you have status. And with ready to drinks, I would imagine that it's the difference we're talking about is not a $30, $40, $50 price difference between the two segments. It's $1 or $2. And so for $1 or $2, I can be drinking the can that makes me look like I have status. So that's why I am surprised to see the value category doing what it's doing here. Well, it's also,
I wonder, actually, to tie into that theory, because I think you might be right, to support that theory.
Don't sound so surprised.
To support that theory, if you think about it, where are we drinking canned cocktails? It feels to me like White Claw was sort of a thing before the pandemic, right?
True.
And I think mainly when we're drinking, like you're not going to go and order a Jack and Coke in a can at a bar. So you're still like, so maybe to your point, like if you're drinking at home, nobody's going to see your status, except you and your partner. Maybe you just go get the cheap stuff because all you want to do is get buzzed or maybe blotto on the weekend while you celebrate World Poetry Day.
Actually, while you celebrate World Poetry Day. See, when you said, where do you drink it? I was thinking in front of other people, whereas you went, you drink it at home.
I think so. I drink everything at home, so I'm a bad example, but
I'm crazy. I don't drink alone. I don't drink at home. I only really drink in social contexts. I have house parties, but yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. The germaphobe in me would never. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So if I think the only time I've ever had a canned cocktail truly is around other people at a barbecue, at a concert, at bars. People are buying high noons at bars because they know it's consistent. It's super consistent, and it's $5, or sometimes the upcharge is like $8. And so when I've gone to bars where they don't have good tequila and everyone's drinking and I want to be a part of it for whatever reason, if they have like, I don't know, a high noon, which again, I'm not saying is good tequila, but now I'm spending $8 to be disappointed instead of $20 to be disappointed. That's what she said. So, I think that's part of it. And if it's $7 for a White Claw and it's $8 for a High Noon has that better perception of quality and status.
Yeah,
I'd give $1 for my ego, wouldn't you?
No, actually, I wouldn't. But I honestly, at that point, I'd just be drinking water. But but that also speaks to the fact that I don't really go out and drink, and maybe that's just not my world.
Yeah, my new thing is instead of drinking bad alcohol, I don't actually do the High Noon. Now I opt for, believe it or not, like a Diet Coke, which is super unhealthy, but somehow still healthier.
You know what? Here's this trick I learned from my friend Ronnie Kaplan, who's a very famous drinker in Chicago, I'll say. So Ronnie will just have soda water and Angostura bitters.
Ooh, that sounds kind of good.
It's delicious, and it's to your point, it's healthy, or at least relatively healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that one's free. But so
Thank you.
Here, you got it. Next one's going to cost you. But so here's like all of this is interesting to me, but I want to go down a different road with you.
Okay.
Because here again, in the same way that I'm not drinking at bars, I think maybe there's a thing that I'm missing, or maybe there's a thing that I'm perceiving that everybody else is missing.
Okay.
Okay, so when I look at volume of total volume of what we're drinking, again, it starts with vodka at 667 million liters. Next is those RTDs at 658 million liters. Whiskey, so, not a lot of difference between vodka and cocktails. Whiskey clocks in at 647.5 million liters. So down from both of those, but not in significant numbers. And then we drop down to our poor little tequila and mezcal friends at 289.8 million liters. So I have two things here that come to mind when I see that drop. And one of them is, well, that's what we're buying. Is it what we're drinking? It makes me wonder, like when I don't think anybody's collecting vodka or RTDs. I think people are out drinking those things, right? But when I see whiskey at 647.5 million liters, and I see all these geeks online buying and selling bottles of whiskey, I wonder how much of that is just going into somebody's cabinet to sell down the road. And then I think about, well, when I look at that average price per liter for whiskey, at where we go whiskey at $18.30 and agave at $23.17. So pretty significant difference. It makes me wonder, is anybody collecting tequila? Is anybody collecting mezcal? Is there really, I mean, look, I know the whole Fortaleza story, but is there anybody who, like a market, an aftermarket for tequilas?
I mean, I can speak empirically on this just because, I'm very involved in the tequila community. There was, at least in 2020, this whole collection theory, and people just wanted to collect. Mm-hmm. And I think more recently people have been, post-COVID saying, let's enjoy it. Can't take it with you. And
well, you can. You have to build a pyramid, but...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Which is also very difficult with labor laws these days. So maybe you can't take it with you. But I was at an event on Thursday night, and one of these Agave community members poured me a very, very rare bottle, a bottle that he could have aftermarket sold, potentially, for hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. It was very limited edition. It had brand recognition. It was just, and I had tried it years ago, and I held off.
You're not going to name the brand?
Oh, do you want to know? It's not like,
yeah, I'm curious. Yeah,
it's Fortaleza Amore Perros.
Okay, I don't know.
And it is so good, and it had a charity angle, and I missed the boat to buy it just because I was traveling or something. There was some reason, and I missed it, and I was bummed out. But he opened this bottle that, again, I wouldn't be surprised if he could almost get $1,000 for it, and he's just sharing it with everyone. I said to him, "Man, that's like so generous. Why are you doing this? You could easily." And by the way, this was late in the night when people were hammered, right? Not me, of course, but
wait, was he?
I mean, honestly, the point is he had two steps to that process, though. Step number one was he took the bottle with him to this event with the goal of,
that's
right.
True.
So he did that sober potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is, I do think the tequila community uniquely, and again, I'm not involved in vodka or whiskey as even close to as much. The tequila community uniquely is very much about community and family and sharing. And so I think that the collector mentality has been replaced with the share it with the people you love mentality.
Oh.
And I see that happening, that shift happening in a post-COVID world where we just don't know how many opportunities we're going to get to be with the people that we love and respect.
Oh my God, Marissa, I had no idea that we were going to end up at that beautiful little place on this path. I do you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Because if not, I love that as a point to wrap on. I want that to be the world I live in.
Yeah, and I do think, obviously, one of the things, the benefits and detriments of alcohol is that it does encourage connection. And just to put a fine point on that.
Did you say detriments?
The detriment is that maybe some of those connections shouldn't happen. if I mean in a more literal sense.
Oh, you're talking about a hookup. Okay, I hear you. A little drunken hookup. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that they're saying, they being experts, macroeconomic theorists about Gen Z, is that generation is not connecting as much. And I think part of it is they're sitting at home on their phones. Yeah. And another part of it is they really aren't drinking to the level that prior generations did. Now, of course, their consumption shift and they're doing more drugs and whatever, but they're also similarly not having sex to the same level that prior generations did. And so again, back to that connection aspect. So I do think alcohol, though perhaps detrimental to your physical health, it can be in some ways and in moderate cases beneficial to your mental health if it allows you to connect with more people around you.
Yeah, in moderation.
Within moderation, of course.
Not the connections, but the but the alcohol.
Yeah, and the literal connections may be less, but the metaphorical connections much better. And that's what I would like to end on.
Yeah, no, that's really lovely, Marissa. So, I'm going to go ahead and put these spreadsheets up onto the episode page. So anybody who wants to run through the numbers and find their own interesting facts out of there, rock on. Hey, Marissa, lovely seeing you again. I look forward to seeing you next month in New York.
Can't wait. Honestly, can't wait. I was telling someone last night how excited I was.
Right on. And then let's saddle up and head off on another Agave road trip together. I've got an idea that we'll talk about after I hit the stop button.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks,
I'll catch you next episode. Hasta pronto.
Salud, dude.
You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stressing capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening. Agave Road Trip out.